Hey everyone, and welcome to our free monthly webinar. We're so excited to have you join us. Today we're going to be covering Chapter 8 of the book, CRM or Die. If you don't have a book, check out crmordie.com to get your copy. If you haven't read it, no worries. You will still get a lot of valuable information out of today's 30-minute webinar. We're going to be talking about executing your CRM vision. Without further ado, let's jump in. I'm Courtney Kearney, founder and owner of Crm Consulting. We are a CRM and data management consulting firm focused on professional services. We have a ton of free events and resources on our website. So be sure to check out crmconsulting.com so that you can participate in more events like today that we are hosting. And you can check out a ton of articles to help you on your CRM and data journey. If you haven't checked out the CRM or Die website, definitely suggest that you do so. We have chocked it full of great resources, a sneak peek of every chapter of the book, and you can take a free 10-minute CRM self-assessment quiz so that you can get a score of where you are at on your CRM journey with your firm so that you can have analytics and data to understand where you are and where you want to go, and then you can track your progress. So we suggest that you take this every quarter. Now, if you have purchased a book, make sure to access all of the additional bonus material that you can get through the website. But the most important takeaway from the book, absolutely, if you hear nothing else in this webinar today, CRM is about people and process and not about a piece of technology. Chaz Ross Monroe is my co-author for the book, and she and I often get asked either during presentations like this or when we're out at industry functions, hey, can you just tell me what the best CRM is? We always respond with the same thing. It's your people and your process, regardless of what piece of technology you choose, whether that's Excel, all the way up to a powerhouse like Salesforce. If you do not have the proper people in the right seats and the right process in place, it will always fail, regardless of what that piece of technology is. Now, we have broken the book and unlocking your CRM potential into 4 areas: the foundation, preparation, utilization, and thriving. Today, we're going to be focusing on that utilization piece, but I wanted to cover the first 2 parts in case that you missed them. All of our previous webinars covering these topics are available for you to check out on our YouTube channel. The first one, Chapter 1, focus on your process and your people, understanding your why, making sure that your process is well documented. Chapter 2, data-driven decision-making, looking at what is data, why is it important, what does it mean to actually be data-driven. Then 3rd chapter was about benefits of CRM, increasing profitability, bolstering your productivity, improving efficiency, boost morale, just to name a few. Part 2 was preparation, looking at your business processes, the documentation in 5 easy steps. Preparation is key, looking at spending 90% of your efforts on preparing and 10% on executing, which we're going to talk about today. Evaluating and selecting, even if you already have a CRM tool, a piece of technology that is supporting your people and your process, you can still gain some benefits from that one. Digging deep into knowing what you want, why you want it, and why you want it now. Part 3, the utilization. Last month, we talked about implementing your vision, beginning with the end in mind, creating that inclusive implementation team, seeking out all the data, cleaning it, breaking down the silos, how training and documentation is vital, the best practices around each of those. And today, we're going to be looking at how to execute all of what we've already put in place. Now that gets us through the first 2. Today, we're going to finish up utilization. And next month, we're going to start talking about that thriving piece. So let's dig into executing your vision. Chaz and I love to kick off each chapter with a quote, and chapter 8 is no different. It is by James Clear. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. We loved this because it really helps if you're trying to implement something brand new, or if you've had a system for years and you're trying to reinvent it or re-implement or re-execute a part of your CRM process or system. The first part of that, I alluded to it earlier, but knowing your why, that is critical. Understanding why and always leading with that. Why are we in this webinar today? Because we want to talk about our client relationship management and how to execute that vision. Making sure that you kick off your trainings of why are we in this training? Why are we spending the next 30 minutes together? Making sure that everybody in the company from the top down understands the why behind your CRM and data efforts. Now, once that's in place, we highly recommend the best way to execute your CRM vision. This seems like a no-brainer, but so few people do it. Use the system. Use your system to drive adoption. One of my favorite little case studies, stories that Chaz wrote about in this chapter was describing Patrick. He kicked off a meeting, he closed the conference room door, and he announced it was time to begin the weekly BD and marketing meeting. Everyone took their seats and began looking at the projection screen, which showed the CRM. Once everyone was set and their attention was on the list of opportunities displayed, Patrick reminded the group, we are only discussing pursuits that have been entered into the CRM system. This, my friends, is exactly what we're talking about, using the system to drive that adoption. Instead of having printouts or having a conversation that was open-ended, we have it on the screen. We are living in our CRM. We are making those changes as we're discussing things. We're not creating them in the account because that would be a waste of time, but everybody has theirs prepared and comes to the meeting knowing that the only thing discussed is going to be what's in the system. With that statement, Patrick heard the CEO flip open his laptop and begin to type. There were a few chuckles as the team members could see Zach trying to quickly add opportunities to the system. Patrick smiled and thought to himself, well, at least he's getting them into the system. There is some of that you will have to be patient with as you implement these changes, as you live in the system. You might have to teach people once or twice, maybe a third time, of how to even put the opportunities into the system. But once they've got it, then it will be a well-oiled machine of how you are using your system. Now, everyone having their pursuits in the system allow for a greater sense of transparency and shared commitment. In this story, Chaz shared that Patrick sorted the pursuits by dollar value, beginning the weekly discussion with the largest opportunities, which gave everybody a competitive spirit since they wanted their opportunities to be discussed first. It also held everyone accountable for entering a dollar amount on the pursuits, because if you didn't have a dollar amount, you went to the bottom of the list. Otherwise, these opportunities wouldn't show up on the dashboards. And Patrick understood that if he didn't incentivize people to put that dollar amount, all of his reports would be wrong. To capitalize further on the competitive nature of his team, Patrick increased the marketing budget for the CRM line item to accommodate rewards for employees who adopted the platform. Marketing launched competitions for most contacts entered, most opportunities updated, and rewarded the winners with gift cards or lunches. During the weekly BD and marketing meetings, Patrick was delighted to see the new and updated opportunity data and felt that the adoption strategy and incentives were working well. This is just one example of how using your system to drive that adoption is the most productive way, and it gets everybody in and comfortable with the system. Now, once everybody's in, you've got to make sure that everybody is reading and telling the same story. Everyone in the firm must understand the story that the data is telling, especially those business leaders. Patrick understood this and was midway through the list of opportunities when he noticed that a lot of the proposal due dates fell around the same time period, roughly a 45-day window. Having that many deadlines at once impacts the marketing team's capacity. Patrick had been debating whether the firm needed to hire an additional marketing coordinator. This insight from the CRM system allowed Patrick, the team leader, to see that needed to happen, and soon. Instead of the marketing department complaining about all of the proposals and the deadlines and how they were stacking up, he got to see it right there on screen with the data. That's the story that the data was telling at that time. There is a big difference between being a data storyteller and displaying data. So let's dive into what that looks like. Here on my screen, you'll see that this is simply displaying data. It's the opportunity pipeline. It's one of the most common widgets or graphic representations that you'll see in a CRM system. It's typically represented in a funnel, looking at your first stage, those prospects, the leads, the rumors, the early pursuits, going down to we've actually received an RFQ or an RFP from the client. Then we're in preparation stage. Then we've submitted it, then we're shortlisted, then we've interviewed, then hopefully we win, right? So we're narrowing it down as we go. If I just display this, I could be a leader that logs in and says, oh, we're doing really good. It looks like a funnel. Cool, check out. I could be a different leader that looks at it and goes, okay, each one of those sections is a different width or width. So I'm going to say that looking at that, we've got a lot of prospecting and we've won a lot. Cool, we're good. I could be another leader that goes, wait a minute. There is $44 million sitting in submitted and only $10 million sitting in prospecting. So clearly the dollar amount is not driving this funnel. What is driving this funnel? Is it quantity? We've got 10, then 5, then 6, then 4, then 4, then 1, then 3. Okay, it's not the quantity. Does it just always stay a funnel regardless of what the data is saying? Okay, well, what is the width or what is that telling us? Oh, that must be driven by the count because the second stage is half of the first. I am so confused by this. Those are 3 different reactions to the same information that's being displayed versus telling a story so every user understands. So here is a graphic narrative that accompanies the pipeline. The goal, we want to keep the pipeline a true funnel with the largest dollar amount at the top narrowing to the smallest dollar amount at the bottom. We have a goal to win $10 million. We know that this is what it takes to keep the lights on. So there should be a minimum of $200 million in the early pipeline stages. That is not adding up. If I look over to the left, that does not add up to 200 million to me. Our data trends show that we shortlist 25% of the time, and we interview 50% of those, and our win rate is 40%. So if we work backwards, it's telling me that in order to get to 10 million, we have to have 200 million. This should be alarming because our early stages are only totaling up to 66 million. So we are really low. We have got to fill in those early prospects, get more RFPs in the door, or chase bigger projects. Do you see the difference between just displaying the data on the left and every user's on their own versus let me set the tone, let me set the ground for what you're looking at? If you help tell the story, you're also empowering your users to trust the data, to dig deep, to understand the data, and to understand that business development and client management is no longer a single person's responsibility. You can't say as the marketing coordinator or the marketing specialist or the receptionist that I don't have to worry about our client relationships. That's the business developer's job. Absolutely not. We now live in a world that every employee, everyone in the organization has to be relationship builders. They have to understand that regardless of if you're accounting, talking to accounting, that is still relationship management. We have to understand that the organization loses vital connections when there is not empowerment, that we need to give our employees the ability to have the data at their fingertips, that they are responsible for entering it, for updating it, for keeping all of those interactions up to date. This is one of my favorite quotes from the book. Business developers can no longer be seen as the sole single relationship managers. Everyone in the business must see themselves as relationship builders. This leads to built-in accountability. It is vital for you and your fellow leaders to hold staff accountable, using data positively, not punitively. We don't want to punish with the data, but rather encourage and help them see what all they're capable of once they have the data entered into the CRM. One way to do this is through key performance indicators, KPIs. Employees should understand that their KPIs that they are working towards, that will be on their reviews, tie those to the CRM, tie those to your data processes and your standards, each team member having a data role. If you don't know what those roles are, definitely go check out the previous webinar about data roles. But everybody has to be clear on the expectations and the responsibilities, and then be held accountable to meet those. And then looking at all of this put together gives you a centralized database that will save the company time and money and increase your efficiencies. If your team completes proposal responses, just like in the case study that we talked about earlier, that probably resonates with all of us because we all have deadlines, we all have the things that we have to chase. But being able to minimize some of the repetitiveness that we do, searching for the same information over and over again. This kind of duplicate work is annoying to all of us. It's inefficient, it's costly, and it leads to burnout. If we combine the hourly rate for just a few of the project managers at your firm, for accounting, for marketing, for all the people that interact looking for data, and multiply it over multiple pursuits, you can see how much money that we can prove that a CRM will save the firm. Now, once the firm fully commits to the new CRM process and shifts away from the inefficiencies and puts everything into the centralized database, the cost savings are incredible. Now, that is something to definitely celebrate. But not only do you want to celebrate those efficiencies and productivity, but you want to also celebrate the adoptions and the utilization successes for each accomplishment and milestone, because this CRM journey that you're on doesn't have a destination. It is a forever journey of growth and continued areas of improvement, automation, all the things that we're going to be talking about thriving in the next couple webinars. But really looking at your CRM journey, you want to build that momentum and keep it going. And that's through celebration. Because from studying neuroscience, we understand that the brain's task that fire together, stay together, and you want to make those positive. That's why we can all get so quickly addicted to games on our phone, because they give us those dopamine hits that we want. But so is true about CRM and those successes. Having those celebrations, understanding that when we celebrate the win of, because this person did this in the CRM, we were able to create these win themes in our proposal, and that won us the work. When we interviewed the client in the debrief, they said that our win themes is what got us there. Well, we wouldn't have gotten those if it wasn't for all of the documentation that we did chasing the entire pursuit that took 2 years. All of that comes down to that celebration and tying those things together. All of the things that we've talked about in the last 20 minutes lead to a change in trajectory of the business. empowering those employees to become relationship builders, having transparency in your business, allowing your marketers to have time back instead of hunting and gathering information, but really being strategic with their time. Utilizing and adoption is the key to ensuring that your CRM provides a return on your investment. And really, I want you to know that the biggest thing that you can do for your CRM is really investing in your people and your process, because at the end of the day, that is what client relationship management is all about. Be sure that you understand your data story. What is your data telling us? What are the things that you need to go back in and put some narrative with, or maybe do a quick training around? Empowering your team members to take control of their responsibilities, understanding their data role, then holding them accountable, really having that centralized database and executing that well, and then celebrating those wins, whether they are small, that you got all of someone's contacts put in the system, or every contact has an owner. Whatever the celebration is, make sure that it is acknowledged so that you have the motivation to continue on for your CRM journey. This is your year. This is your moment. So take control and act and put all of your effort towards that client relationship management. It really will pay off. If you like what you have heard in this CRM webinar or any of our previous free webinars, I invite you to our quarterly paid webinar on Tuesday, September 20th from 12:30 to 2:30. We go through the entire book. We have 4 workshop activities that we go through, and we really dig deep into the content that we have presented in the book. And finally, our free CRM chat will be next Thursday. It's always on the 3rd Thursday of the month, August 18th from 1 to 1:30. We're discussing executing your CRM vision. So I encourage you to attend that forum and that discussion. And always, thank you so much for attending. Please connect with me, follow CKC on social media, and I look forward to the next one. Thank you so much for your time.